There is something unique about Jenna K. Moran. You may have heard the name before, or you may have heard the games we're talking about today, but let's get a few things out of the way first. Moran is an artiste who has been writing TTRPGs for quite a while at this point. Some of their works include Weapons of the Gods, Warcraft the role-playing game, and fucking Exalted. Notably, the Fair Folk and Sorcery Nightmare of Exalted. They were also fundamental to Innominee's existence. But then Moran went to do her own thing. This is referred to as the Ash Tree Earth to some, but let's be honest, we're going to call it the Jennaverse. Each of these following games are all taking place within the same universe, and arguably, everything Jenna has ever written is in the same universe. The last note before we descend to the depths is that these games are 99% deep lore and early 2000s anime. If you want the full experience, you'll actually need to read these things cover to cover and then read them again. Or don't, because these are TTRPGs, not your book. 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Noblesse is the game you have heard about before. Yes, you, right now, have heard about this, and you've even played it before. The book even says that you have before you've actually opened it. This is the 3rd edition, which is a bit of a lie, as it's the 2022 re-release of 3rd edition, which the full title is Noblesse The Essentials, Volume 1, Field Guide to the Powers. If that sounds pretentious, oh boy, do I have a video for you. At its most basic, Noblesse is a game about normal people. Normal people who have, one day, for no reason at all, been given ultimate godlike power by the fundamental building blocks of reality that were shoved inside of their soul. Congratulations, you've now been drafted into the war for the fate of the concept of existence. Welcome to becoming a noble. As nobles, that fundamental building block of reality can be a little bit of anything. Hey, congrats, you now have absolute dominion over the concept of fire. Pretty handy, right? You, congrats, you have control over trees. Wowzers. You have complete authority over the very conceptual idea of cats. You, yes you, I can see your heroic noble soul burning as you are now the noble of carpets. Together you serve an imperator, angels, devils, primal forces of nature, and everything in between as they form the operating system of reality, which give you all of the building blocks. Without them, those things simply cease to exist. Now, your enemies are the Excrucians. They are anti-reality. They kill your imperator, haha, reality writes itself to fill in the blanks of their non-existence. And guess what? They already have done it a few times. Now, the fate of reality lies on your ass with such colorful assistance from Lord Entropy and the Council. Lord Entropy is evil. Capital E, he is the embodiment of pure evil. But evil is reality, and it would be pretty fucking bad if he died. Alright, that's all cool and all, but what's the game like, Notepad? Well, that's where things get a little bit complicated. Because at its absolute core, it's the I'd win system. Whenever you do anything, you do it based off your basic assortment of stats: aspect, domain, persona, and treasure. If it's 0, you're pretty human. If it's 9, you're performing impossible super duper natural feats. Oh no, you want to catch a bullet but you're only a normal person? You're going to spend miracle points to boost up your stats. You're being opposed by someone with 3? Boost it up to 4. The main secret here is that you have to spend your MP in clumps of 1, 2, 4, or 8. These are, of course, tied to each attribute. Miracles beat mundane, miracle warfare is a game who gives first. Congratulations, I've taught you Noblesse. But let's do a little bit of work here on these I'd win points come from. Passions and skills are your mortal stuff. They are irrelevant to your miracles and overt supernaturality. Of course, these follow the same logic. So I have legal 3 means you'll always beat someone with legal 2, which means that you can also use will to improve your odds by creating intentions which are temporary additions to it. Of course, you can also use cool and shine, which allows you to do neat things to fuck with people. They are skills that are penalties to others, maybe, because fuck you. But obstacles are also problems that you need to overcome. If there is a tier 2 obstacle and you have a tier 3 skill, you're now at tier 1. Burn will and say, nah, I'd win. Alright, time for the magic bullshit. Bonds are your truths that you are and are not. I can't lose. I can't enter a house uninvited. I can't be caught. And other statements that you can do. They are also your relationships with others and things you care about. And guess what? You add these to your I'd win pool if they come up. They also give you MP for having them challenged, which builds up your I'd win pools elsewhere. Afflictions are things others are happening to you with. I can't be hurt. or I appear when someone chants my name are all valid options. You get MP for these having issues. Your attributes are your true miracles that let you do amazing feats and augment yourself to build your Gnawed Wind pool, because that's all this fucking game actually is. Finally, your estate, your power, your JoJo stand of fate and destiny. Your domain allows you to manifest your abilities more efficiently and readily. Thus, if you're the Baron of carpets, you can make others feel like they're standing on a nice carpet. If you're regal in carpets, of course, you reality marble infinite carpet works to create a world of nothing but carpet, which can go even further as you ascend to heaven over carpet to complete the cycle of cold feet samsara. Congratulations, that's all you really need to know. Noblesse is a game about learning when, where, and why you're burning your resources and how to recover them. Slightly more advanced taxes as you struggle to keep yourself going, but I'll give you a secret. I fucking hate the writing of this book. Everything in this book is written in universe and so casually with side notes upon side notes of meandering information that doesn't really go anywhere about a world that I wasn't actually really interested in. That's kind of the problem in Noblesse, really, because if you're not invested in the lore, then the Noblesse boils down to a very complicated method of doing math, which boils down to people saying, you guessed it, nah, I'd win, and then they do or don't because someone burned more points. The writing really takes me out of it. It's so hyper casual that following it reads like a pretentious poet waxing at me about the details of the next great novel that will never be finished. But of course, that's the point. This is a game for poets and poets who enjoy listening to other poets talk about poets they've both never met. But Noblesse serves as a foundation for future games. So let's talk about the next one. Yes, Jubos Marvelous Wish Granting Engine, a 2014 game? Yes, a game. We have to assume it's a game or we wouldn't be marketed as such. That would be wacky if someone released a book that pretended to be a game, but it actually wasn't. Wacky indeed. But Jubos is a game about a kid who builds a marvelous wish granting engine in a town that is on a lake which is ruled by yokai for years, but then the sun came by, killed Russian vampires, and then she died. Effectively, Joseph Stalin invaded Gensokyo, and then the actual fucking sun showed up, killed Joseph Stalin, and then died, but everything's okay now. This is also irrelevant to the rest of the game. Jubos is over 500 pages of game, a 500 excruciating pages of pastoral fantasy that is trying very hard not to be autistic but fails horribly at doing so. So what are we actually playing here? It's back. It never left. It will never leave us. But instead of having to juggle in unholy miracles, we just instead have will to contend with. Sometimes everything we do will be about moving that little abacus back and forth to make sure we succeed or fail certain tasks. But what's the game actually about? It's about arcs, quests, and experience. Anything you do will grant you XP, but these anything is usually going to be tied to the theme of the game you're actually playing. Being pastoral, for example, means you're going to get XP for talking to people, musing with people, or just walking around. While being gothic means that you're going to add being obsessive about things to build up your XP. XP contributes directly into quests. For example, if we are finding a door into memory, we'll be able to contribute our XP into completing that. If we have some painful scenes, we get bonus XP. If we do some pastoral actions, like talking about the present with things you've learned in the past, then bam, bonus XP! What happens when we resolve a quest? We move on to our arc. The arc is the overarching story for our character. Let's say it's part of our storyteller arc. By doing that quest, we choose some bonuses. Dramatic visions, dramatic lives, cool magic bullshit, and a new shine to gaslight people. The more quests you complete, the further down your arc you go. Things become more complicated for you, and you get more stuff to work with. By ending an arc with its 5th quest, we've gained some powerful problems, as well as a miraculous nature because we're a living legend. Congratulations, that's Jubos. It's 500 fucking pages of padding. I somewhat joke, of course, but the truth is that Jubos is a game about people doing things, and it's slow. You'll get XP at a relatively even pace, but it's a drip of XP for a quest. If a full arc has, let's say, 150 XP total, that's 3-4 sessions of rather decent play to complete the entire arc if you do everything right and you don't deviate too far, and suggesting that your friends don't steal your spotlight or you get distracted by problems or other things occur. Is Jubos good? It is big. Is Jubos interesting? It is big. Is Jubos worth reading? Maybe. Basic game game isn't really complicated. The concepts behind that game are not complicated. It's just 500 pages of this is a pastoral quest, and then moves on to this is an issue, you should fix it or you're fucked, and then meanders on and on and on. Make sure you buy the cards if you intend on playing. You did buy the quest, issue, arc, and everything else cards, right? You did invest time to learning that 80% of the miracles and stuff are things that won't happen unless you want them to, as it's a completely different game almost. Then they still might not. It's a fascinating thing to look at. But is it a game? Maybe, perhaps. Is it some ancient variety of form RP that died in the March of the 2020s? Is my bleak heart unable to accept that this is just sitting around a table and talking to my abacus as fun? Maybe it is interesting, if very, very odd. Lord Entropy II runs the super evil Animus school, if you must know, by the way. The most recent of these games is Glitch Story of the Knot, where you play as the creatures of the void who want to destroy reality at a fundamental level who retired. Ta-da! Glitch. Yes, you are playing the Excrucians, which they do talk about in more detail, as you are actually trying to destroy reality because of the glitch, which is a fundamental flaw in reality that binds them to a never-ending cycle of misery. Effectively, they can see the cycles of guilt and keep hitting them in the face with it, and they want to kind of stop that as soon as possible. You are Excrucians, who decided to say, nah, fuck that, and left the war host of the death of reality. You defied the anti-demiurge and decided to just kind of bum around for the fun of it. But there's an issue. You're gonna die. A lot. You're in the reincarnation cycle, slamming your face into it every time something horrible happens to you as you just come back again and again. It's horrific as you die in agony every time, but you will die and you will come back. That's the nature of Glitch. You're the glitch. Reality is the glitch. This book is 400 pages. But remember, nah, I'd win. Glitch handles a little differently though. Instead of having miracle points or willpower, you have 5 costs to increase incrementally. Stilling, immersion, fugue, burn, and wear. Each of these attributes, Ide, Flore, Lore, and Verd, and ability, allow you to do most of everything. Let's say I need to do a difficulty 3 ability check, and I have a ability 3. You kind of get the point. However, if it's difficulty 5, I'll have to increase my wear by 2. If anything increases to 108, you'll be unable to actually spend any more of it. Normally, you can reduce all of your costs by 1 at the start of a session. 1 single point. But of course, you can burn off a lot of these costs by taking wounds though. 10, 25, and 50 for the severity and difficulty of it. If you manage to build up 300 points of wounds in any category, you're kind of forever dead or just foobar. But when you die, you're out of the session. Congrats, you died, but you'll come back, reincarnated again and again and again until you finally meet your quota of death. As long as you're not dead, you'll build up infection, which is how aggressive reality is trying to kill you. So if you're dying of sunlight at tier 1, you're going to get burnt up in the sun a little bit. Infection 7 has the concept of the sun trying to murder you at every available instance of time, even if it doesn't make any sense. A vast majority of Glitch is about the basic concepts and the Nah I'd Win song and dance, even bringing back quests and arcs from Jubos to reinforce the concept of building XP to complete a goal to advance the story. It is easy enough to figure out, of course, when you're dealing with the fact that you're a metaphysical and literal timer to complete everything you want to do. It becomes a little bit more easy to digest. But holy shit, this book is 400 pages and it feels like 4,000. Everything is reiterated time and time and time again, and when you realize everything boils down to that basic system, it gets fascinatingly exhausting, as you'll be double checking everything to make sure you have every modifier correct, and bonus, change, XP, quest, and arc to consider with it. Chunks of lore and the mechanics can sometimes be broken down into just wing it, while breaking both its ribs to suck its own cock at the same time. It is infuriating to read. But that brings us to our cataclysmic conclusion. The Jennaverse is by far one of the more complicated things to talk about. Because here's a secret. You care about the Jennaverse because of the lore, characters, and people you are playing with. Everything is having fun, but then the game is fun. But it's a precarious balance with everything due to its nature. One little problem and people start getting really pissed really fast, and the game kind of collapses. But for each of them, Belas is the easiest to understand and play. Yes, there are miraculous actions and a dozen other things to worry about, about, but everything you do and worry about feels like it has some weight behind it and purpose for being there. You are a noble, you have superpowers, unlimited carpet works. Objectives are all player driven. When you accomplish something, you accomplished it and it feels good. Which brings me to Jubos. I don't like the quest arc system. At its core, it's a weird addition to 2.5 games Jubo already kind of is. The issue is that it puts hard values behind very abstract concepts. You're not cleaning a house to clean a house, you're doing the clean house quest, which needs 25 XP for a particular objective to complete it. It becomes this weird game where actions aren't really yours anymore. They are a game of trying to optimize ideal outcomes while glancing over at your quest that feeds into the next arc correctly. It feels very artificial when it really should be this organic growth of stories and characters, but it's probably the most rigid of the three. But then we move on to Glitch. It's a weird combination of the two, a mixture of the freedom of Nobilis and the rigidity of Jubos with a really fascinating cast of characters you can play as. But Jesus Christmas Christ, the ego of everything is far, far more pronounced. It almost hates the fact it's a TTRPG, holding the very notion that it isn't a theater production in contempt while demanding you treat it as a real TTRPG like everyone else. It's this fascinating to behold in that horrifying car crash kind of way. You want to look away, but you can't quite do it. If there is anything to say about these games, is that Moran's writing is verbose. Everything that can be explained in one page is explained in 10, spread across 250. The game, if you can call it that, boils down to a mixture of Mother May I and Extreme Tax Simulator as you attempt to outbid rather than play at points. But if someone approached me and declared, "I love the Jennaverse," I'd reply with vague concern, of course, then they'd clarify and I'd accept it as probably truthful. It's a kind of a one-of-a-kind series of games that you can't really get anywhere else. None of these games are even remotely attempted in other games, let alone at the same kind of detail and nature of them. This is a world unto itself, but a world built for a certain kind of person, in a certain kind of place, for a certain kind of reason. Always remember though, Rule 0, you've never actually played the Jennaverse. My name is Notepad Anon, and this was the 3-in-1 Jennaverse Super Special. If you like what I do here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Many thanks to the Imperators on high as always. Godspeed, and good luck.